What if I told you that every decision you've ever made, every goal you've chased, every invisible weight you've carried through life was shaped by a force you've never truly seen? It's older than any religion, more present than any government, and more insidious than you'd ever imagine. This force has a symbol, a perfect shape. It is a cube, black, silent, unmoving. It sits at the crossroads of the ancient and the modern, the physical and the spiritual. You've seen it before, on the screens you stare into, in the cities you live in, even in the dreams you forget when you wake. This symbol is everywhere, and yet almost no one questions it. Why a cube? Why black? Why Saturn? This isn't just a story about a planet or a shape. It's a map of control, a prison hidden in plain sight. And if you are on any kind of spiritual path, if you've ever asked why you're here or how to break free, then you need to understand what the black cube really is. Because until you do, you're still inside it. In this video, we're going to trace the full story of the black cube of Saturn. We'll follow it from ancient civilizations to modern power structures, uncover its meaning in esoteric traditions, and more importantly, reveal how it influences your life right now. And by the end, you'll know what it takes to step outside of its walls. The black cube is not just a geometric figure. It is one of the oldest and most powerful symbols of limitation, structure, and control. Its meaning stretches across cultures, belief systems, and centuries. At its core, the cube represents order. Equal sides, stable corners, unchanging form. It appears reliable, grounded, even sacred. But the moment it is rendered in black, it takes on a different nature. It becomes the vessel for something hidden, something weighty and opaque. Black absorbs all light. It represents the unknown, the unconscious, and the unseen forces that shape our perception of reality. This cube is not inherently evil. It is simply a container for restriction, and its link to Saturn, the ancient god of time, rules, and suffering, reveals its deeper purpose. The black cube symbolizes the conditions of this physical world: boundaries, mortality, the constant pressure of time, the voice that tells you to stay in line, follow the rules, and never question the system. But this symbol doesn't just live in myth or philosophy. It has been etched into the architecture of our cities, woven into the logos of corporations, and even placed at the heart of major religions. Its shape hides in plain sight, reinforcing the same message over and over. Stay inside. Do not step beyond. Do not wake up. This is the cage we live in, a symbolic box designed to keep the soul asleep. And until we recognize it for what it truly is, we remain bound to its rules. That's why this story matters. Because understanding the cube is the first step to escaping it. To understand the black cube, you must understand Saturn. In both mythology and astrology, Saturn is not a gentle force. It is the strict teacher, the enforcer of karma, the guardian of time and consequence. In Roman mythology, Saturn is the god who devours his own children, a chilling image, but a revealing one. Saturn does not nurture, it disciplines. It imposes limits so that growth must be earned. Every wall you hit in life, every challenge you face that demands patience, endurance, and sacrifice carries Saturn's fingerprint. In astrology, Saturn governs time, responsibility, discipline, and hard lessons. It rules the bones, the structures of the body, just as it rules the structures of society. It is the planet of form, rules, systems, but more importantly, it represents the cycle of cause and effect. You reap what you sow. Nothing comes without effort. It is this unforgiving logic that traps so many people in repetitive patterns, never realizing they are living out Saturn's script. The black cube is the perfect symbol for this energy. It is solid, dense, immovable. It reflects Saturn's influence over the material world, a place where spirit becomes matter and where time becomes a law. The cube doesn't bend. It doesn't evolve. It contains. That is Saturn's lesson. Containment first, growth later, if at all. But Saturn is not here to destroy you. Its role is to confront you, It forces you to ask, what have you built? What do you take responsibility for? Where are you still asleep? In this way, Saturn is not just a jailer. It is a master initiator. It offers the trials that refine the soul, and the cube is the crucible where that refinement begins, if you are ready. Long before the black cube appeared in corporate logos or science fiction films, it existed in the mythologies and spiritual systems of the ancient world. In Mesopotamia, the birthplace of many of our oldest myths, Saturn was worshipped as a god of time, agriculture, and law. Here, the cube symbolized the physical world shaped by divine order. It was revered as the architecture of reality itself, sacred geometry made manifest. The Babylonians associated the cube with boundaries, not just physical ones, but metaphysical constraints. To them, the cube represented fate, time, and the inevitable structure of existence. It was seen as a tool of both creation and limitation, a force that shaped civilizations but also bound them in cycles of duty and sacrifice. In Egypt, geometry was not math, it was magic. The cube, with its 6 equal faces and perfect symmetry, symbolized stability and the foundational laws of the universe. But the Egyptians also saw in it a reminder: what is stable can also be stagnant. The soul, encased in form, forgets its origin. Perhaps the most powerful and enduring example of the cube appears in the Kaaba, the sacred black structure in Mecca. While it is the heart of Islamic pilgrimage and devotion, its esoteric reading suggests more. The Kaaba is a cube, cloaked in black, circled endlessly by seekers. From a mystical lens, it represents the human experience of cycling around the material world, trying to reconnect with the divine source at its center. It is a symbol of the one God, yes, but also of the soul trapped in the material plane, always orbiting, rarely entering. These ancient cultures didn't just use the cube for aesthetic or architectural reasons. They understood it as a symbol of cosmic truth. The truth that this world is a structure, that life, without awareness, becomes a loop. And that freedom only comes when you recognize the prison, not as punishment, but as part of the path. The black cube didn't vanish with ancient civilizations. It simply evolved. Today, it appears everywhere, hidden in plain sight. In our buildings, our logos, our technology, our media. What was once a sacred symbol has become the architecture of modern life, reinforcing the same message that Saturn once whispered to ancient mystics: stay in the box. Look at the design of modern cities. Skyscrapers, office blocks, and apartment towers, all variations of the cube. Uniform, rigid, stacked on top of one another in perfect lines. These are not just practical structures. They reflect a philosophy: order over flow, geometry over nature, containment over expansion. The environments we inhabit shape how we think, and the cube has taught us to think in terms of limits, compartments, and routines. In the world of commerce, the black cube appears again and again. Many of the most powerful corporations use cube-like imagery or black square icons to convey control, stability, and dominance, values aligned with Saturn's archetype. Consider Saturn Corporation, the now defunct car company whose name and sleek silver cube emblem directly reference the planet itself. Then there's BlackRock, one of the world's most powerful financial institutions. Its very name, BlackRock, evokes the dense, impenetrable essence of Saturn's energy and the cube itself. IBM, long known as Big Blue, often uses stark, geometric, blue-black themes in its branding. Its old computer systems, literally referred to as black boxes, became the symbol of corporate computing structure. Sony's PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 4 launched with iconic black cube-shaped consoles, reinforcing the pattern of control in consumer tech. Look at Dropbox, whose logo evolved into a cube unfolded, visually communicating storage, structure, and compartmentalization. Windows, the operating system that shaped digital life for billions, is nothing more than 4 connected black or blue squares, a flattened cube. Even financial centers and legal firms like Chase Bank use logos that mimic the cube or a hexagonal evolution of it, symbolizing security, power, and enclosed control. These aren't just aesthetic choices. They are part of a subconscious architecture. The black cube appears where systems must control energy, money, data, labor, time. These logos signal trust and order on the surface, but on a symbolic level, they whisper something deeper. You are still inside the structure. Even entertainment has adopted the cube. In films, television, and video games, we see black cubes appear as alien artifacts, control devices, or symbols of a hidden force manipulating reality. These aren't coincidences. They are reflections of a deeper archetype surfacing through culture, reminding us, perhaps unconsciously, that something about our world feels mechanical, scripted, unnatural. Technology, too, follows this pattern. The smartphones we carry, the screens we stare into, the systems that track and monetize our behavior. They all reflect a cube-like framework, digital prisons of convenience. The algorithms box in our attention, keeping us locked inside curated illusions. And beneath all of it, we feel it. The pressure to conform. The sense that something invisible is always watching, always measuring. That there is a system running, and we are inside of it. That is the black cube in modern form. A structure so pervasive we rarely question it. But the moment you see it, really see it, you realize the symbols never lost their power. We just stopped paying attention. In occult teachings, the black cube is far more than a symbol of structure. It is the very blueprint of the matrix, the energetic prison that binds human consciousness to a false reality. Within esoteric traditions, the cube is Saturn's cage. It is the invisible architecture of time, ego, and suffering. It is not just around you, it is inside you. Many occultists refer to this system as the Saturn matrix. It suggests that Saturn, through its vibrational influence, generates a kind of psychic field that governs our thoughts, habits, and perceptions. This field keeps us locked into a loop of material obsession, fear, comparison, aging, and spiritual amnesia. The cube is the shape of that prison. Orderly, silent, permanent. The ego, your sense of self as separate, isolated striving, is a direct product of this matrix. The cube represents the false self, the voice that tells you who to be, how to act, what to want. It rewards identity over essence, appearance over truth. The more deeply you believe in that voice, the more tightly the cube closes around you. In Kabbalistic and Gnostic texts, this world is often described as a false creation, a copy, a test, and the cube appears as the final boundary, what separates the sleeping soul from awakening. To pass beyond it is to question everything you've been told about what life is supposed to be. The cube's shape isn't random. In sacred geometry, the cube is the foundation of the physical world. It represents earth, solidity, and form. That makes it the perfect symbol for what the Saturnian system wants: permanence, control, repetition. You wake up in a square room, you go to a square job, you stare at square screens, your thoughts move in squares. This isn't just coincidence. The cube has become the architecture of your reality, not just physically, but mentally. It trains the soul to forget that there is more. More than time, more than rules, more than form. The occult understanding is clear. The cube is the test, but it is also the key. Because once you recognize its walls, you can begin to dissolve them. If you've ever felt stuck, empty, or quietly desperate while doing everything right, that's the cube reminding you that it doesn't feed the soul. And the reason it hurts is because something deeper in you knows you weren't born to stay boxed in. This isn't just theory, it's personal. You don't need to study ancient texts or decode occult symbols to feel the presence of the black cube. You're already living inside it. The pressure you feel to wake up early, meet deadlines, pay bills, and stay productive. That's Saturn. The silent guilt that creeps in when you rest, the voice that says you're not doing enough, not earning enough, not good enough, that's the cube speaking through your conditioning. Have you ever wondered why time feels like it's speeding up? Why every year seems shorter? Saturn governs time, and time is the invisible fence wrapped around your life. It structures your days, measures your worth, and keeps you looking forward or backward, never present. The cube is not just a symbol of external control. It's an internal operating system. It lives in your mind, and it shapes the way you see yourself, others, and the world. Think about how often you trade authenticity for acceptance. How often you conform to roles, suppress your instincts, or delay your dreams because they don't fit into the box society expects. That box is real, and it's not just cultural, it's energetic. You're taught from childhood to obey structure. School teaches you how to sit still in a square room. Work trains you to serve systems. Even your goals are handed to you like a script. Buy this, achieve that, chase status. But what if you paused long enough to ask, who wrote this script? Who benefits when you remain distracted, disconnected, and dependent? The cube wants you to believe this is all there is. That freedom is dangerous. That mystery is madness. But that's only true if you never look beyond its edges. The moment you begin to question, to feel, to wake up, that's when the cube starts to crack. Escaping the black cube doesn't mean destroying it. It means understanding it, transcending it. The cube is the structure, but it is also the test. In esoteric traditions, Saturn is the teacher that initiates growth through difficulty. It applies pressure not to punish, but to refine. And so the same symbol that imprisons also contains the seed of transformation. The first step is awareness. You must see the cube, not just out there in society, but within yourself. The voice that doubts your intuition, the habits that keep you numb, the identities you cling to for validation. These are the walls of the inner cube. And as long as you believe they define you, the structure holds. But once you begin the work of inner mastery, everything changes. Saturn's energy can be used to reinforce limitation or to build discipline, focus, and sovereignty. The same force that binds can also strengthen. Spiritual freedom isn't the absence of structure, it's the conscious use of it. Like a sculptor working with stone, you learn to shape your own reality from within. Practices like meditation, fasting, solitude, and dream work aren't spiritual fluff. They are acts of rebellion against the matrix. They strip away the noise of the world and bring you back into direct contact with your essence. And when you operate from essence, the cube loses its grip. Self-inquiry becomes your compass, not asking what you want, but who is wanting. Not chasing power, but confronting the part of you that believes you're powerless. In this path, you don't reject Saturn. You integrate it. You learn to build inner structures strong enough to hold higher states of consciousness. Saturn becomes your ally, not your enemy. The world won't tell you how to do this. It needs you distracted, entertained, and exhausted. But spiritual awakening has always been a quiet revolution. It begins when one person decides to stop living in reaction and start creating from alignment. The cube doesn't dissolve overnight, but every step you take toward truth weakens its hold. And with each layer you shed, you realize you were never the box. You were the light trapped inside it. The black cube doesn't vanish the moment you see it. In fact, the moment you become aware of it is often when it pushes back the hardest. The ego clings to its prison. It calls the familiar safe, even if the familiar is suffering. The systems around you, work, media, culture, will not encourage your awakening. They rely on your obedience. They are designed to keep you inside. And the cube is clever. It rewards conformity. It offers comfort in exchange for freedom. It tells you that spiritual truth is too abstract, too difficult, too dangerous, that it's safer to stay inside the lines, that now is not the time, that you're not ready. But ask yourself, who benefits when you stay asleep? Who profits when you stay afraid? Every awakened soul has faced this threshold. The realization that liberation requires not just insight, but courage. It's not enough to see the matrix. You must walk through it. You must leave behind the false security of your roles, your stories, your illusions. You must choose to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This is not a call to rebellion in the external sense. It's a revolution of being, a return to inner truth, to silence, to presence. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, because no one can do it for you. And yet, once you take that first real step, something incredible happens. The cube begins to crack. Not with noise, but with knowing. You are not here to serve the structure. You are here to outgrow it. You are not here to be a cog. You are here to wake the system up from the inside. And once you see the walls of the cube, the only question that matters is, will you stay in it, or will you break through? The black cube of Saturn is more than a symbol. It is the structure of our world, the story of our conditioning, and the test we were born into. It represents limitation, yes, but also the potential for liberation. It contains both the cage and the door. You've seen how the cube shapes history, society, and your own mind. You've felt its pressure in your daily life. And now, you know it doesn't just exist outside you. It thrives in your habits, your fears, and the parts of you that forgot your origin. But knowing is the beginning of power. Because once you see the cube, you can choose how to relate to it. You can step back from the roles you were assigned. You can question the patterns you followed blindly. You can stop reacting and start remembering. Saturn's role was never to punish. It was to sharpen. The cube's presence was never to crush you. It was to challenge you, to ask whether you'll stay asleep in the comfort of control or awaken to the truth of your infinite nature. This is not about escaping the material world. It's about mastering it, using discipline without losing soul, building inner structure without becoming a servant to outer systems, transcending the ego without denying the self. This is the real spiritual path. Not easy, not quick, but real. So take this symbol with you, not as something to fear, but as something to face. Let the cube remind you of the task, and let your awakening be the answer. Because once you begin the work, once you move through the illusion, you'll realize something simple and ancient. You were never the cube. You were always the light inside it. If this opened your eyes, the next step is waiting. Watch one of these 2 videos to delve deeper into the self.